That's how it is with the brand also. Like you are something. If you aren't something, then you're nothing. So then there's nothing to talk about. Then if you're something, then you're for somebody. If for somebody, it also means you're not for somebody. If you can't accept that reality, you just can't accept the reality. You're living in a sandcastle in the sky, which is, by the way, where most brands are living.
Welcome to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast, where we talk all things brand building SEO, helping you connect with your audience, elevate your visibility, and grow your business. I'm your host, Waddell, here to bridge the gap between SEO strategy and real-world business success by bringing you insights, stories, and conversations from the SEO community and beyond. Whether you're an entrepreneur, marketer, or SEO enthusiast, this is your place to learn, share, and build a brand that stands out. So grab a coffee or your favorite tea, and let's dive into smarter SEO for your business. Hey guys, welcome back to the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast. Wow, I am here living the dream because I have the infamous and famous Mordy Oberstein on the podcast today. He is the head of his own brand consultancy, Unify, and he's also the head of brand at Wix. And so he is here today to talk all things SEO, brand, whatever. Mordy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being on the Simple and Smart SEO Show podcast.
Can I say it's your birthday today?
Oh yeah, you can.
Everyone's happy birthday to Crystal except for me because I have a terrible voice. So don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's the thought that counts. I really appreciate that.
I'm singing in my head if that helps you.
I think you can hear it. Yeah, I hear it. It's awesome. Good stuff. You were one of my favorite SEOs and just SEO people because you take such a holistic look at SEO. And when people talk about like helpful content and user first, whatever, I think of you because you are thinking beyond just like these numbers and statistics. You're like, how does this actually work? So I want to say thank you for that.
I'm helpful?
Oh, yeah.
Barry Schwartz, if you're listening, I am helpful.
You want to know something funny? I met Barry at Brighton SEO.
Barry's nice, right?
Yeah.
Nothing like he comes off on digital.
Yeah, I think he was a little busy and he was probably being swarmed by people. And I'm like, hey, you're Barry Schwartz, aren't you? And he's yeah. I was like, I'll catch you next time, Barry. It's cool. I know you got things to do. But yeah, he was nice. He was kind. He stopped for a second to chat with me. Okay, I just want to jump right into it. This whole idea of SEO converging with other practices and like no longer being siloed. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I feel like it's something that people have either been hiding from or just not wanting to accept. But you talk about brand as a mindset. Like, why do you say that?
You want to get real for a minute?
Oh my gosh, please.
Okay. Like therapy real for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I view it as a mindset. I think the reason why I like branding, the reason why I have a knack for branding is I grew up in a horrible divorce. Okay. So I always had to read each one of these warring parents and be able to maneuver each one of them and really understand like where they're coming from, be able to speak to each one in a different way, kind of like a target audience. It's a mindset because you get a knack for like understanding like what's motivating people, what's driving people, what's meaningful to people, what's not meaningful to people, what language are they speaking, what language are they not speaking, and how do you relate to them, speak to them, and resonate with them. And so it's a mindset because for me, like the reason why I say it's a mindset, because for me, it's very much a mindset. It's very much like a sense, like a spider sense kind of thing. Okay. People will look at like, okay, like almost like an SEO checklist. Okay, in brand marketing, we need to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It is very much, at least on the strategy side, very much not like that. Yes, there are things you have to do. You have to build brand identity and positioning and messaging and yada, yada, and the USPs and blah, blah, blah. But like the actual finer details of that, it's very intuitive and it's a way of thinking. And if you don't have that way of thinking, then it's not for you and that's fine. Like data analytics might not be my jam because that's also a way of thinking. Mm-hmm. So it's not like a novel idea. Oh, brand is a mindset. SEO is also a mindset. I think that mindset has changed. But let's go back like 5 years. Like SEO was about like hunting keywords and blah, blah, blah. That's a mindset. That you could be good at SEO technically, but if you didn't have that like SEO mindset, you'd just be missing out. Like kind of like a stockbroker, like they have a very aggressive mindset.
Yeah. And I think to go back to your therapy session, you're describing like the ability to empathize with people as well. And I think those were two of the words that you used that really got my attention when I very first came across your work. And it was empathy and nuance. And I thought, okay, I can listen to this guy because he gets it.
So we say it all the time, but I think these kind of things, there's a certain like realness to them. Like you're tapped into, you're not tapped into. Like you're targeting your audience, or let's say understanding your audience. Everyone talks about understanding your audience, but like that can either hit you in a real way, or that can just not hit you. That could just be like a cognitive thing. To hit you, for me at least, I think it could be very different for different people. For me, when I'm talking about like an audience and I'm thinking about an audience, I am really trying, I feel like their life situation and like their life context. What's going on around them that makes them feel and think and function a certain way in the context of whatever it is that you're offering. I'm like trying to think of like an example. But my default example is like minivans. It's like such a boring. Can I tell you one time I was on a call? I don't want to say this now, whatever. I was on the call with the CMO of SEMrush and like a potential client. And the example I was using to run through some like SEO stuff was the insurance space, like Allstate, Liberty Mutual, like, Geico. Because from an SEO point of view, they are incredibly interesting because they're running so many different kind of media campaigns, but they're also doing SEO and they have so much branded search also. Did you have picked a more boring niche? Yeah, it's boring. It's super SEO. This is so interesting. But minivans, super boring example. And I think I saw a video like recently, like minivan sales have gone like tremendously down. People are going to SUVs now, but let's just say minivans were like a thing back in the 90s. If I was marketing a minivan, people think, okay, like, oh, you're schlepping your kids around, or you're a soccer mom, or you're a dad. That is not the mindset. That's not the actual life context. The actual life context of that person, most likely, and this is just like my personal opinion on this, is somebody who feels like they are completely unappreciated for what they do. I am driving my kids around from one stupid thing to the next stupid thing. They don't care. No one cares. No one appreciates. I'd really rather not be doing this. I hate this car. It's just making me do things that I don't like. That's a life context.
Wow. So how do you sell that?
Oh, like how you sell it is no one else appreciates you, right? But we do. That's why we built this feature for you. Your kids might hate your guts and not appreciate you anyway, but we appreciate you. That's why we put this cup holder over here.
You know what? I love that. And not to get on the therapy couch myself, but I make gifts for athletes for senior night. And
it's so cool, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love them. It's
Super
fun.
cool.
Yeah. My mom left when I was a child, like a baby, really. And there were some extenuating circumstances beyond that. When that biological parent leaves, there's always a piece of you that, oh, why did they leave me? And so I always notice like mothers and fathers, but mothers who did things for their kids. And so my number one customer is the moms of athletes. And so I love telling them, you're doing a great job. And I mean it because I think they are celebrating their kids and they are not celebrated. So I want to celebrate them.
Right. Yeah. And I think for a marketer, I'm trying to think if I've seen anybody talk about this on LinkedIn or X or whatever blog, because no one like talks about like real stuff on those platforms. Celebrate you. I got a new role. Congratulations. I don't care. The best marketers, I feel like, are the marketers that are in tune with themselves. Right. Because what you just said was very in tune with yourself. Like you are very aware of that's my life context. That's how like it hits me. There's something real there. And I can take that and I can put that out there. I can connect in a way. The best marketers are the ones that are like really connected to themselves.
Yeah.
And that's a life skill. That's like a beyond marketing skill, but it's very, 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 very translatable to marketing.
Yeah.
And no one talks about it.
And I think people are trying to talk about it. You know how people talk about being authentic? It's like that word gets on my nerves so bad. I think what they're trying to do is trying to find that piece of them that truly connects with other people. That's what authenticity is. It's not something you fake. It's just something you are. And then being able to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the problem, like in the digital marketing or social media age or the digital age, the AI age, whatever age we're in, I don't like it, but whatever age that we're in, it's very hard to get past like very surface level emotions. I got no job. Hooray. I ate this for dinner. Hooray. I'm an old person. I was out with my wife and we ordered food and there's someone at the table next to us, young kids. I say young kids, they could be like in their 20s. I'm just an old person. And they're taking pictures of their, like the food. They're like post. I'm like, seriously, like just eat the food and poop it out like everybody else. And we're all caught up in like this like superficial, and that's really bad. That's really bad for marketers. And I know like maybe you need to target superficialness in your marketing, but the way you need to be able to connect and understand that mindset also, which is not superficial, right? So like your connection to that mindset should not be superficial. And the problem is like the connection with the self that we generally have now, because we live in such a superficial age, is generally superficial. So the things that we put out there are generally superficial, or the way that we relate to, let's say, our brand or the marketing that we're doing is generally superficial, but connection doesn't happen there. Connection happens with the real stuff inside of you, the existential questions about my state of being, which are borderline, I would personally say, aren't even emotional. They're existential at that point. Those are the things that actually resonate. Those are the things that should be part of your brand. Those are the things that should be part of your marketing strategy. That should be how you relate to the world and bring that into your marketing. But we don't live in an age where people think that way. So I don't know.
And maybe I think we both have that background in education. So our thought process towards other people is just different, because you want to see people become the best versions of who they were created to be. And I know even for the senior night stuff that I sell, the superficial part is I want everybody to see like how great my kid is doing. I want everybody to see how great a parent I am. Just stuff like that. You know what I mean? I want everybody to recognize how thoughtful I am. So there's that superficial part, but then there's also that deeper meaning part of I truly love this person and I want to express that love to them. I think connecting that and then also connecting with the actual need, those are two separate things, but like such a gift if you are working in optimization.
It's such a gift that you have it. And if you have it, don't run away from it, lean into it. Like when I was also a teacher, I taught in Baltimore City for 2.5 years. What I was like trying to do, I think, looking back, what I was actually doing and what worked and what didn't work, what worked was sharing me with the kids. And like using myself, which sounds terrible in a weird way, but I'm not a horrible person, as a role model for the children. And showing them like, here's how, because like, these are very like kids from a very hard background, showing them like how I would deal with the challenges, how I would deal with life, like through the things I was saying and through the things I was teaching. I kind of bucked the system. Like they used to test every stupid little thing. I did not care. We are going to learn about, yes, I'm going to teach you how to like get the main idea of a story and write it down, but I'm going to teach you like life. That's what I really want to teach you. And that's what resonated. Like the deeper part of sharing yourself with other people and that connection is super powerful, but it has to be deep. But that's really what brand is, right? Brand is, there's me as the brand and my identity as the brand. There's you and your life context and the intersection of that where you both meet and that connection, that's brand. And that connection has to be powerful and it has to be deep. Otherwise it can't take place.
I think the other part of it though, is that it also makes you vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so how do you recommend to brands to deal with that vulnerability? Because you're not for everybody, but it still hurts.
It's hurtful. Right? I will quote Bruce Arians, who was the quarterback coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers during the Ben Roethlisberger era, and then was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, who said, no risk it, no biscuit.
That's funny because he doesn't seem to have a lot of one-liners. He seems like a very serious man.
Yeah, he's got that one. It's like a great line, right? I say it to my kids all the time, like no risk it, no biscuit.
So how do you apply that?
But yeah, and I think that's where particularly like SaaS, we're an all-in-one solution. What are you doing? By you being all in one, all for everybody, you are all for nobody. To quote John Mellencamp, you either stand for something or you fall for everything. I'm not sure if he was John Cougar back then or John Cougar Mellencamp or not just John Mellencamp when he said that, because that guy confused the crap out of me with all of his names, but it's a good song. Anyway, you have to stand for something. You are something. Let's take a step back. Everyone thinks of it like marketing. And marketing is like this alternate reality. It's not an alternate reality. It's reality. Okay. You are something. And if you are something, you are for somebody. Okay. I am for my wife. For whatever reason, she tolerates my existence. For 99.9% of other people on the planet, I probably annoy the crap out of them. But there's nothing I can do about that because that's who I am, right? I am that person. And then that's my audience. This one person who is crazy enough to marry me. But that's how it is with the brand also. Like you are something. If you aren't something, then you're nothing. So then there's nothing to talk about. Then if you're something, then you're for somebody. If for somebody, it also means you're not for somebody. If you can't accept that reality, you just can't accept the reality. You're living in a sandcastle in the sky, which is, by the way, where most brands are living.
There's one brand in particular that I love for a specific purpose that I use them for. And then they changed into an all-in-one solution. But I don't want those I already have a solution for those other things. You're the best at this particular thing. And I told them, I'm like, okay, now I've got a few more clients. I don't need all of these other things that you're offering. I just need this one solution for each one of these clients. And now I'm paying for things that I don't need. And you're going to ask me to pay more for something.
Very like brands make this mistake. They like expansion is not an inherent good. Like growing is, right? Growing like your audience, growing your revenue. Growth is. Expanding is tricky. I wrote about this on LinkedIn a while ago about expanding your content offering. Can't remember who I was thinking about. Usually I have like real examples in the back of my mind when I write this stuff. I don't say what it actually is, because that would be mean. If you're expanding your content offering, you need to be very careful, right? Because let's say you write about, I don't know, you write about baseball, right? You write about the Yankees. Your thing is the New York Yankees. You write about the New York Yankees. And now you're writing about all of baseball. Now, if you're a baseball, not like I am, baseball is a very regional sport, unlike NFL football, like which is like, yeah, everybody watches football. There's a game on, I'm watching. I don't care who it is. In baseball, it's really regional. Like you have your team, and a lot of people don't know what's even going on in the rest of the league so much. So now you're expanding your content offering out. You're running about baseball as a whole, and not just the New York Yankees. You need to be very careful about what you're doing. You need to think about how you're going to keep your current audience, who's not going to want this, and is going to think that your identity is now diluted. Once that identity is diluted, what just happened to you is that the connection dissipates. And once the connection disappears or the connection weakens, all breaks loose. So it's the same thing with your business offering. Like you need to be very careful how you expand and how you pivot. There should be a natural connection and a natural flow to it. Bad example of this is Jaguar, right? Like they redid their whole thing. I don't know. What is the connection between what they were, which I love Jaguar. I thought they were cool as anything. Yeah, I know nothing about cars. So like that, the people who like cars be like, you're a total idiot. Like whatever, I like them. And now to what they are, I don't know what they are. There's no connection between the two things. You lost everybody by doing that.
I think they were late to the party. I think they'd already had this plan in motion. And then something culturally shifted in the United States. And whatever their plan was, they were so deep in it. They're like, we're going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? And so like globally, I can't tell you what that's, but it just doesn't fit like what's happening here for sure.
There's no connection. There's no like flow. I saw a thing about this. The reason why they said they did it was because originally, if you go back to the 1960s, like they were like super innovative. Like nothing looked like a Jaguar. It was completely different. It was like they didn't copy anything. So now if you know that history and you have that like slogan, like copy nothing, okay, that I see that kind of makes sense why you did that. You know who knows that history? Absolutely freaking no one.
That's true. That's true. I was like, oh my gosh, pop quiz. I don't know. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was watching a random YouTube video about it and I happened to, okay. So I guess that kind of makes sense. And you are going back to your roots, but you have not made that, you have not communicated that connection at all. And you've now lost both the people who did like you, like I like Jaguar, now I don't like them. And the people who didn't like you now really don't like you.
Yeah.
Who likes you now?
Yeah.
No one. No one likes you, Jaguar. Everybody hates you.
Unfortunately, I could never afford a Jaguar, at least not yet. So I didn't know too much about Jaguar in the first place. But I do recognize what you're talking about with the Yankees, because if I was a Royals fan or if Yankees guy starts talking to Royals people or whatever, I could see the Yankees people being like, what the heck? What is this? And like you said, it actually creates some distrust there as well.
Yeah, huge distrust. You know where you see it? Because so baseball, we'll go back to baseball. By the way, I never had a Jaguar either. My friend from Seattle, his father was a Jaguar mechanic. Like he only fixed Jaguars. So he had an old Jaguar, which was cool. That's why I like Jaguar.
Cool.
It always broke, by the way. But anyway, yeah. So baseball is like super regional. Again, so you have like your local announcers, and it's amazing how bad of a brand Major League Baseball is. If you want to learn like bad brand marketing, go watch what Major League Baseball does. What they do is for the playoffs, they have national announcers. So all of a sudden, all year long, and baseball's it's 162 games. It is a grind. I love it. I'm sad when baseball's over. Now what do I do with my life?
Watch the Steelers.
But there's like 16, 17 games, like once a week, like whatever. I'll watch a random like Reds Pirates game. Like I just like baseball. I find, I just find it soothing. It's like nostalgic for me. All right. I'm a weirdo. I get it. When the playoffs come around, they go national broadcast. So thing like ESPN, let's say, or Fox Sports gets the games. So you're spending 162 games from the very end of March through the end of September with one announcer, one crew. And then all of a sudden, the most important games is some random announcer. Baseball people, like fans, lose their minds. How does it express itself? it expresses itself as, oh, that announcer, oh, he's leaning towards the other team. He doesn't like my team. And this is why, like, you need to be tuned into what people are saying in the manifest content and what they latently mean. You need to be able to read into what they actually mean and what's actually going on internally with them. What the baseball fan is saying there is, I am used to my guy being for my team. And obviously the Yankee announcer leans Yankees and the Reds announcer leans Reds. They work for the Reds and they work for the Yankees. That's what I'm used to. That's what I like. That's what I can identify with. Who is this neutral person? This neutral person, I don't like neutral person. Neutral person is actually not neutral. I look at him as negative, anti my thing. What Major League Baseball should do, by the way, is they should have one national announcer. So let's say Fox Sports gets the contract for the playoffs. Whoever is in that series, bring on as the co-announcer the local person. Simple. Okay? Done. But they suck at branding, so they don't do that.
So this is an interesting intersection with content creation and subject matter experts, because I feel like people are starting to be able to read and understand that whoever is talking to me doesn't know this or doesn't understand me. And sometimes I think it's because of the silo, because people get so far away from their customer that they're not utilizing the people who are right next to their customer. It reminds me of education at the top level. Who is writing this stuff? Who is coming up with these ideas of what we should be doing in an actual classroom? They're not connected.
Have you ever ever had a medical issue and then you've gone to Google, you read whatever, and then you go to the doctor and you ask them the same question and the answer you're getting back is so much more nuanced?
Yeah.
So it's like that with everything. We just don't realize it. So I don't know, like we're writing about SEO, we're writing about baseball. Like to a real baseball person, the way that you're speaking, all of that like subtlety is not there. And I could see it. Imagine I was a doctor reading like WebMD. It's so apparent to people who are in that you're not that. Because we're just so concerned about performance metrics, we're not even thinking about that. I use that way too often. That's a big pronoun.
Yeah. But I know what you're saying, because it's like when you're in it and somebody's describing it and they've never done this particular activity before and they're describing it. It's, hey, I've played this game or I do this thing. I know that when I do XYZ, these are the possible outcomes. You're not even addressing that.
Right. You're not even addressing the possible outcomes. And that's how you can tell the difference between someone who's writing well and who's not writing well. Like I've coined this like situational writing. But if I was in this actual situation, like that's a possible outcome, that's a possible outcome, and that's a possible outcome. Let me address it. That happens, this happens, that happens, this. Imagine like teaching, right? I know, top tips for teachers. Make sure you have a lesson plan. Okay. What happens when the lesson plan falls apart, y'all? What do you do then? Because most of the time, like the lesson, like, it's not going to work the way you thought it was.
Yeah. You know what has resonated with me so much more as I've gotten older? That Mike Tyson one, that everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face.
It's such a great quote, right?
Yeah. It's like, that is so true. What am I going to do now? Okay. Another thing that you talked about that I thought was really interesting is this idea of brand and just business moving offline. And what does that even look like?
Oh man. Like this is like the hottest of all hot takes. So I have this like thing that I think we're entering like a digital winter where there's so much noise and so much chatter. I have a video coming out on Thursday. I don't know when this episode comes out. It's on my LinkedIn as of December 13th. I scheduled my post. And there's just so much noise and so much, you just ignore it. It's like menu fatigue. You don't notice what's in a menu because there's so much in the menu. Like I'm not even looking what's in the menu of this website. I completely bypass it. I just look at the CTAs. The entire internet is that. There's so much coming at you and there's so much noise and it's so much of the kind of crap that you're talking about where it doesn't actually resonate because it doesn't actually speak to me because it wasn't written by anybody who has any clue about me whatsoever. So I feel like we're entering this like digital winter. And I think like the answer to that digital winter is resonance. Like you have to resonate, which means like focusing much more, speaking to a specific audience much more, and getting much more out of like in terms of revenue out of your audience and blah, 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 blah. But the issue is, and I saw a stat, I always forget the stat. I saw it on Marketing Dive, brands running TV ads. The stat was very positive about like brands running TV ads and the impact on digital. But it made me think, you know what? TV ads really resonate with me for the most part. They're done well. Like the stupid State Farm ad with Patrick Mahomes and like bundling.
Ski.
Yeah, it's so confusing. And it's so like, you're just trying to throw the word bundle at me. You're keyword stuffing the word bundle. Here's Patrick Mahomes and the word bundle 4,000 times. That's stupid. Also, I hate Patrick Mahomes. I don't need another dynasty in the AFC. So thank you very much.
Yeah. See, but they're not targeting you. They're targeting me.
Oh, are you a Chiefs fan?
Oh, I grew up in Kansas.
I didn't know you grew up in.
Yeah, I
I'm
lived in
sorry
Kansas
for
City.
bashing the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm not offended. I'm okay. Like you and my husband, thankfully you root for the same teams.
Yeah, Steelers fan. Okay.
Yeah, but I would hate to be in a room with you if you were like rivals. But I think you could actually have some really great conversations, honestly.
Okay, good. Because we had the whole Patriots dynasty for so long. The last thing I need is another dynasty in the AFC. Man,
everybody loved him. And then all of a sudden, like the last couple of years,
the Netflix thing ruined it.
Oh, I didn't see it. And I don't watch Netflix. So now that I know that, I'll never watch that.
Oh, you should watch. It's a great series. Anyway, his commercials stink. They don't resonate. It's, you know what? Wingstop is a good example of this also. I don't get what they're doing in their commercials other than showing me a bunch of wings. Like they're competing with Buffalo Wild Wings. Like I know we're getting a little off the question. Buffalo Wild Wings is all about we are a place where we get you. You're a sports nut. We are your people. Come and be with your people.
Yeah.
Which doesn't resonate with me because I'd rather just watch it at home, not with people. But okay, I get what they're doing.
Right.
It resonates. Wingstop is the opposite. Wingstop should be for me. You don't have to go out to be with people. You can park right on your couch and be super happy right at your house with the same food, but they don't have any messaging around that. I know they're trying to, by the way, because if you look at all of their commercials, it's people in their house, people in their car. So they are aware and they are aware of what they're trying to do. They're just really bad at doing it.
So that brings me to one of the final things that I definitely wanted to touch on that I heard you talking about recently, is separation between like marketing and positioning and making that connection. And that was huge for me. I had to go back in and chat GPT some of my stuff with the positioning element in there. And I thought that is just...
Positioning is underrated. First, to answer your last question super quickly, I think because there's so much noise, things that happen offline, and by the way, offline, I think also means watching a TV commercial. I'm looking at my TV right now, because you're doing a real life activity like watching a football game with your family and it resonates. It's not in your face, so much noise. So on the digital landscape, you're competing with all these other noise makers, but you're also competing with offline where it actually resonates. So lean into that. Do things offline also. But positioning is super underrated. I debate in my head, which is the brand key. Is it identity and knowing yourself and having something meaningful? I think from a certain point of view, identity is the cornerstone because everything comes out of who you are. If you don't have who you are, you can't do anything else. But leaving that aside, messaging for sure is the third wheel of the big three. Identity, positioning, and messaging. It's definitely not messaging. Positioning is meta though. Positioning is how it's very existential. It's how the you slides into the they. How does the you, which is you or your identity, how does it slide into the life context and the life situation of your audience? And its positioning is where the magic actually happens. For sure, that's where it happens. It's all in the positioning because that's where the connection is made between the you and they. And it's a I don't want to get it's a magical place.
It's a magical place. It is where the magic happens. It's where the connection happens.
Yeah, it's where the connection happens. And brands overlook it. Brands get too focused on messaging. I would be happier if they got over-focused on identity because that would probably naturally lead them to focusing on positioning, but they get lost in the messaging. And as I said before, to me at least, the messaging is by far the least important of the three. Messaging should be a natural outcome of having that strong identity that you know who you are, and the positioning. The messaging should be obviously the messaging is this.
So who's an example of a brand that does this well?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, put on the spot. Who does messaging? I used to think the insurance companies sometimes do messaging you're in good hands, old school insurance. That's powerful. That's
yes.
Or a good neighbor. By the way, Gleyber Torres, who's a player for the Yankees, his call on the radio from the guy who been the announcer for the Yankees forever, who just retired, is like a good Gleyber. Torres is there. So good.
Nice. Yes.
Who does a good job positioning? I don't nobody. Who do you think is a good job positioning? It's hard. It's none of the big brands. None of them. I don't want to say none of them. I'm trying to think. I felt like Nike did for a long time and then they stopped.
I'm looking at my phone, trying to look at some apps. If I've got their app on my phone, then maybe I feel like they get me. Okay. Chick-fil-A. Some people who don't like Chick-fil-A, I get it, but I am for Chick-fil-A. And I never had waffle fries before I came to North Carolina. I thought they were weird and I didn't like them. And I thought that they were wrong. They do these little Christmas movies in their app. They do like extra stuff for the holidays. And I feel like they just do extra for their customer. Like when you think about creating content for your customer, putting the user first, we're paying for it on the backside. Don't get me wrong, but at least you feel good about it because they're putting so much effort on the front side to show you that.
Yeah. And they can be a polarizing brand also. Like they have like their haters. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. I'll give you an example actually, like now that like I had more time to think about it, The Athletic.
Okay.
And shout out to Claudio Cabrera, who's the SEO of The Athletic, who's an awesome dude, but nothing to do with like SEO. What The Athletic does is they have like really authoritative writers who, by the way, go out there on their own and have their own side things going on, which only adds to it. I know ESPN could be a little bit like testy about, okay, like Stephen A's got his own like podcast. I get this, like ESPN doesn't like that. But The Athletic, let's like, I'll give you an example. Ken Rosenthal covers baseball for The Athletic. He has a podcast, not a podcast, he has a whole network of podcasts under the Foul Territory like label. But that just makes me more endearing. It's a great name, by the way. Yeah. For a podcast. Foul Territory. It's good stuff. It just makes me see him more. And then when he covers it for The Athletic, it becomes more authoritative. And what ends up happening is because he's such a big dude, because of The Athletic and because of his own thing, when he covers something, so the Rich Eisens of the world, or the Dan Patricks of the world will cover Ken Rosenthal, The Athletic said, and it just builds up this credibility with them. And it gives them, okay, the person writing this is someone who speaks to me. The person who's writing this baseball article is somebody who I know because he covers baseball at Fox and he covers it on his podcast. He's like a real baseball nut. And as a baseball nut, which by the way, is very important for The Athletic because The Athletic is not the New York Times sports section. The New York Times sports section is like, I don't know, like my friend next door who casually likes sports. The Athletic is for me. It's like a nut.
Yeah.
Someone who like really into sports, who really like lives, breathes, and is actually like interested in this stuff, whose wife makes fun of him. What are you even watching and reading? This is insane.
Yeah.
But their positioning is great. And they're doing it very subtly. Like they're doing it by saying the people that we're going to hire are the people who are like real nuts about whatever it is that they write about. That's good positioning. Like that speaks to me personally.
Yeah, I really like that. Okay, so before we hop off of here, can you tell me about Unify? What's going on with that?
I've done brand. I got another like weird intersection of like brand and SEO for a long time. Is that Rank Ranger? I was their CMO. I grew their blog like 200% like year over year, 2 years over a year, whatever you want to call it. And I was also like building up their brand at the same time. I've been brand building at Wix. I was brand building at SEMrush. I was brand building at Wix again now. So I really love brand building. And like I would get people coming, hey, can you do keyword research for me? I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm like, okay, like I am doing a brand refresh for my personal brand a little bit. I don't not do SEO anymore. I don't not talk about SEO anymore. But I also really do focus on brand. So unifybrandmarketing.com. You can check it out there. It's on X. Look for it on Blue Sky, whatever, LinkedIn. But it's me basically saying I've always done consulting on the side for years. But it's me like pivoting officially, like saying, hey, I don't want to do the keyword research for you anymore. I like to do the brand strategy for you.
That's awesome. Okay, I will definitely drop those links into the show notes. Yeah, links everywhere. When we go into 2025, we're in 2025. This is the 4th season of my podcast. We're in 2025. What do SEOs need to know about doing SEO in 2025?
So again, I don't know, like everyone's talking about like brand and SEO, and I can offer you brand marketing tips of what you should know as an SEO and what you should do as an SEO. I think the biggest thing you could do, and I always felt like, SEOs are going to hate me for saying this, like SEO should sit under comms. Like whoever's running the comms strategy for the company, SEO should sit under that. Often SEO it's like separate, like renegade, where the top start organizationally. Even if you're not under comms, sit with comms. And because like I said before, resonance is the victor of the new internet. And you're not going to understand what resonates until you understand the brand's positioning. And you're not going to understand the brand's positioning in a deep way until you sit with comms. So sit with comms.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're communicating in one way to people in like traditional ways, then why wouldn't you want to do the same thing with the internet or leveraging the same way?
It seems so obvious, but we have been on this drug called performance for years. Yeah, it's a drug. And it's so easy to get caught up in it because it's so there. Here are the metrics. Here's how many people came. Here's how many people liked this thing. Here's what my reach was. Here's the traffic. Here's the bounce rate. And it's so easy to get focused on wanting more of that we don't think about like the wider, we don't think about maybe not performing as well, but performing better. If that makes any sense.
Yes, because we lose control in some ways when we do it without like metrics. Yeah. You are so awesome. I knew this was going to be so much fun. I had a great time on your podcast. I am so grateful that you took the time to come on mine today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'm always following your stuff. I really appreciate what you put out there.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having what you're doing, and keep doing what you're doing. And keep sharing. It's awesome.